Hello and welcome to the first episode of the Barbershop Talk. Barbershop Talk is a podcast where we go to the different barbershops in Georgia and we listen to Black men talk. We want to know their concerns and frustrations, and we want to amplify their voice so the politicians hear them more loudly. For the first episode of Barbershop Talk, we went to Michael Diamond's Cuts Barbershop in Thomaston, Georgia. As you would expect, we heard a good number of general complaints there.
How's it any type of coincidence that African American men make up a little over 10% of the entire population, but 80% of the population in prisons?
The drug dealers got kids young as 5 and 6 years old carrying the dope. Kids getting killed left and right.
I think the system is designed to take black people down.
Governor Kemp passed the gun laws, for kids to even put guns in their hands. I don't believe in that.
If I own a funeral home and I got a crack store right next door, making money off of both, because you smoke my dope, I bury your butt. That would be a conflict of interest.
A black life to the judicial system, not only in Georgia, but all over, it's not worth nothing.
I think back to one situation where Andre LaVar Alexander.
We taking people out by numbers, but being of our own race. Sometimes we can be our own troubles. And we taking people out just by numbers, just by simple stuff. Kids joining the gangs.
We have judges, prosecutors, DAs that's actually invested in prisons. So literally every time they convict a cat, money goes directly in their pocket. So why aren't we on that level, policing the police, so to speak? Policing the politicians.
The black kid will get 20 years for a nickel bag, but the white kid will go home.
For the thing they say he did, I ain't the judge. I can't say he did it. I don't know if he did it. We wasn't there. But 45 years is a long time for any crime.
They ain't getting the love at home, so who are they reaching out to? They reaching out to the streets, to the gangs, to the Bloods and the Crips and the GDs. Not throwing them under the bus or anything, but they got to rely on somebody for protection. We're not giving it to them. So actually, we failing them. We failing them. We can't control them and teach them how to forgive. That we failing all our kids.
As part of the Barbershop Talk, we invite politicians to join us at barbershops to answer questions and hear from the black male constituents directly. For Thomaston, we invited Beth Camp, the state representative for the area, but unfortunately, we never heard back from her office. But we also invited State Representative Pat Bentley, and even though she doesn't represent Thomaston, she was nice enough to join us. Someone asked a very interesting question from her, which led to a very interesting discussion.
I don't know who the people are. I just go Democrat all the way down. I don't know nothing about the people. Don't know who they are. So is that a good thing to do when you go to vote and you're Democratic, just to vote everybody Democratic in?
So I'm just going to be frank with you since we're in the barbershop. I don't vote all the way down Democrat. I don't vote all the way because you're black, because you're female. It's about, I get to know the candidate. I studied the candidate and what they're talking about and what they're doing. If it's in line with what I'm thinking and my values, that's who's going to get my vote.
If you just work your job, clock in and clock off, and that's all you do, you're probably a Democrat. If you work constantly, just about all the time, every day, especially for like 20 years straight, you're probably going to be a Republican. Let me say this. It's a whole lot easier to just go to work for 8-9 hours and get off and then live your life. But for someone who started a company, runs that company, have to hire people, fire people, put these people under their insurance policies, you're probably going to start thinking like a Republican. If you just waiting on food stamps or the WIC or the church, you probably a Democrat. But if you get up and go get your own, you ain't borrowed nothing, you ain't asked nobody for nothing, you did everything yourself, you probably is a Republican. That's just my opinion.
Hey, I don't know. You wrong. I work for white folks. I'm the only black person who work for us. And it's like this here. I make over $50,000 a year. I don't push a broom. I push a broom. I work for a general contract company. All do push a broom. My check is over. Every week, my check is, I make $900 a week. I push a fucking broom. Clean up behind other people. Matter of fact, I took a vacation day Tuesday. I got a 4-day vacation. I get paid. I don't work for the black folk. Then the first one, which is Democrats. I am a Democrat. But, you know, but I work with black folks and all that. It ain't no racial thing, but I did that, man, and it's like this. Then the first one gonna fuck you. Hey, it's not recording, I'm cussing.
Yeah, they don't.
Oh, well, yeah, still. I don't work with black folks, then the first one gonna fuck you. But I work with white man, they you know what I'm saying, and I go to work, yesterday I work 11 and a half hours. I work 11 and a half hours. I work $50 a week, but then I bring home, like I say, I might work $50 a week, but I bring home $1,000 a week. So, I mean, it's like, you just say if you work every day and all this and all that, you're probably a Democrat. Nah, it's about how you feel about who's gonna vote for you, who you gonna vote for you, who gonna take up for what you believe in. That will make you a Democrat. That will make you a Republican. It's not about where you work at. It's not about what you do. It's about what you believe in, and that will make you a Democrat and a Republican. Them people they look out for me. I'm the only black person in my whole company. I'm the only one get paid by the hour. Everybody else salary paid. I get paid by the hour. I still bring home $1,000.
Representative Bentley told us about a discussion she and her colleagues had, which she wanted input on.
One thing that we had a discussion about was abolishing the death penalty in Georgia. That is something I would like to know what people's thoughts are on the death penalty in Georgia.
I worked in law enforcement for about 8 years. I spent 6 years in the military as a military police. And then when I got out, I worked in corrections. So while I was working in corrections, I actually had an opportunity, and it's not even an opportunity. I actually seen 2 men get put to death. One out of those 2 men, I was actually tasked and responsible with, me and a group of guys, with seeing him from his cell, taking him down to the medical ward, and literally making sure he didn't try to escape, while they made sure he was in good enough health to be put to death. And it's you see death, you see stuff on the news and about somebody finna get ready to get put to death, and it's like it's impersonal. You don't realize it's just like, okay, well, he did something wrong, he should be put to death. But it's a different story when you actually are looking at a human being. This guy, he was a black guy. When you look at an actual human being, you see his heart. He looked like you. You can see your reflection in him, and it's a whole lot different. So he didn't get a stay. He ended up getting put to death. And granted, I didn't put that man there. I didn't commend him to death, but I felt a little bit of sorrow in my heart for it. Now that's just on a personal level, but just to bring it out a little bit more, in other states and including this states, a lot of these guys that's on death row, they've been on death row for years and years. And technology wasn't that solid in the 80s or late 70s or even some of the early 90s. Every single day, due to technological advances, DNA is getting a little bit better and getting a little bit stronger. And a lot of these guys that were convicted for a crime years ago, they're actually proven to be not guilty. But what about all those people that actually got killed before this new technology? So my personal opinion, I mean, there are some crimes that is just so heinous that death is the only punishment for it. But before we the judge put that gavel down and all that good stuff, they need to make sure, we need to really make sure before we put these people to death.
I had jury duty about 4 years ago. And when it was about a guy in Forsyth, he had shot some officers. Injured couple, killed one. Now, I wasn't there to jury as whether or not he was guilty. I was there to decide whether or not he got the death penalty. Okay? This is what they was asking me. And I told them clear as day, I don't know. It was about malice. They was trying to see did he do it in malice. If he done it in malice, then they was going to give him the death penalty. I said, I don't care if he did it in malice or salus. I'm not God. I'm not here to judge that man and decide whether or not he lives or dies. And they sent me home because I wasn't going to agree with the death penalty. And I was like, that was kind of crazy. Like, we playing God when we doing that. Despite the crime, it's not up to us to decide if someone lives or dies. I know that's an old thing, but that's just me personally. I don't agree with the death penalty.
We have certain values, that we stick by until it affects us personally. Now, we say about the death penalty, for example. Okay, from the outside looking in, I would be an advocate of who I can even come from scripture. Who decides, who's the judge. But until somebody kills one of my children, now I'm like, if you don't kill him, I'm gonna kill him. So we contradict our opinions based on our emotions. That's my humble opinion on that. You in the neighborhood, you might have a guy that says, okay, no snitching. We don't talk to the police, period. We handle our own business in our own hood. Until somebody steal his car out the yard and there's a block full of people. Like, come on, man, y'all know who stole my car. Hey, remember you said no snitching? Until it affects us personally, I think it goes from intellect to emotions, like right quick.
I lost a brother from a black-on-black crime, and it was really hard for me. I even want to go after him to take his life because of what he did to our family. But the God in me wouldn't let me do it. I became a minister because of that. He wouldn't let me do it because I know what that guy was wrestling with. It wasn't him. See, we wrestled against flesh and blood and spiritual wickedness. It wasn't that guy. I know it was something that overtook him that made him take my brother. And knowing this man here that took my brother, I coached his son in football. And I'm like, okay, we take his life, they're going to be our own family feud. They're going to fall out like dominoes. You going to get him, I'm going to get you, you going to get my son, I'm going to get your son, and go back and forth. Until that day stopped, we had to stop it just by saying, look, let the system handle him. I don't believe in the death penalty. Even though you took my brother, I don't believe in it. You can give him 30 years, but he still can see his family. So until we got to stop the hate and all the crime in it. So the God got to stand up in you. If there is a God in you, he won't let you take nobody's life. And you won't believe in the death penalty because you let the system handle it. So I didn't believe in that. And so I want to move forward with that, saying that, hey, you got to learn to forgive. Not forget, you'll never forget that. I'll never forget the pain that I went through when I lost my brother. But I learned to forgive. I would sit down and talk to that man right today and look him in his eyes, and talk to him and tell him I forgave him. And I still want to coach his child. I still want to be a part of his child. But that's where we got to start having forgiving hearts.
When we say thou should not kill, let's look at who is administering the drugs now, since we're doing it by IV. When it was back in the days of the electric chair, who was pulling the handle? Even if it's done by electronic components now or automation or however they do it now, somebody is putting the drugs into the system. So that makes you guilty by association. So if we say we're not going to kill anyone, then, how can you say that you're not going to kill anyone and then you're being associated with putting these things into that human being to take their life? So no matter how you look at it, you're still committing murder.
And there was another issue she wanted everyone's opinion on.
Two quick things I just want to get an opinion from everyone. I've been in the General Assembly for 11 years. And so for 11 years, there have been a bill trying to come forth to have casino gamblings in the state of Georgia. And every year it never makes it out of both chambers. And so I would just like to know what people's thoughts are on having casinos in the state of Georgia. And what will happen is we as members of the General Assembly will actually vote on the bill. And what it does, we will be voting to put it out for every voter in the state of Georgia to vote yes or no if they want casinos in the state of Georgia. So my question is, if we ever get a bill to vote on, would you want me to vote yes or no to allow you to vote yes or no for casinos in the state of Georgia? Yes. Yes? Yes. And one of the discussions that the Democratic caucus had was taking those funds to use them for need-based scholarships. A lot of students end up coming out of college just because they may be $1,000 or $500 short one semester. And so the Democratic caucus push is if we should get casinos in Georgia, the funding that's generated to use it, some of that would be used for need-based scholarships. So what you all thoughts on that, young man?
So what are the pros and cons to having casinos in your state?
Well, thank you for asking. So, great question. Yes. For those that are in opposition, they believe that allowing legal gambling in the state of Georgia is going to tear apart families. That people are going to become super addicted to gambling until they're going to take their money and just give it all to these casinos. And they also believe having casinos in Georgia is going to increase the crime rate and the prostitution rates. That's what I'm hearing for those that don't want casinos in the state of Georgia. And a lot of ministers are telling me to vote no because they feel that that's going to have an impact on the church because people are going to be looking for, and this I'm just repeating what some of the ministers said to me, that people are going to be looking for the church to take care of their light bills and water bills because they've given all their money to the casinos. But those that are in support feel this is going to create jobs for people in the state of Georgia. The funding, again, can be used to help students maintain their college education by utilizing these funds for need-based scholarships.
I mean, at the end of the day, it's pros and cons to both situations, but I mean, it's more pros with using the funds to allocate for more scholarships for the youth. Because at the end of the day, with gambling, it's a lot of things that come from my personal experience. I'm a sports bettor, so it's a lot like in that business, in that realm, it's a lot that comes with it because it has to deal with responsible gambling, and it can start a lot of habits and different other things that can really tear down the community and tear down people's family. That's why I understand when you said that it might cause a lot of things, you know what I'm saying, as far as people's families and other things going on with the kids. So, I mean, it'll be more it'll be more pros using the funds for more scholarships, basically.
I actually stayed in 3 different states that had casinos: Nevada, Maryland, and New Jersey. Out of those 3 states, the only state that the casinos is just not working in is Atlantic City. If you go to Atlantic City, it's a cesspool of just crime, just chaos, utter chaos. So that being said, if we do bring casinos to Georgia, if we copy and paste from like the states that just make it work and got it right, I feel like that we might have a chance. Then on a personal level too, I like to gamble. I mean, I know that might not be a pop, but I'm gonna be honest and be real. And I like the excitement that it brings, the entertainment that it brings, so on and so forth. But that's on a personal level. But just because I can like something on a personal level doesn't mean that I don't look at it on a greater level. I really think that just the current climate of Georgia, with all these different influences going on in Georgia, so on and so forth, I personally don't believe Georgia is ready for a casino. We already got too many other issues that we're fighting with that we haven't brought closure to.
Something you had said that's interesting, I think you had brought up like the crime rate. I believe like with things like that, a lot of people, they get into like the possibility of things more so than how probable it is. It's 100% possible to flip a coin heads 100 times straight, but what is like the probability that actually happens? You know what I'm saying? Like even with marijuana, we're talking about the marijuana. Like think about how many people who done got killed at drug deals who, if weed were legal, they would have been at a dispensary. They would have never been there to even, or who got robbed. You know what I'm saying? There's plenty of people who got killed at crap games who might have been in a casino. And and they would have never even been able to get killed. Or even like, I know Prize Picks is very popular in Georgia. You can't even bet on like the sports books. You got to go to like different sites. You know, it's kind of third party, like underhanded. You know what I'm saying? You never know how many people who have committed crimes to go around this being illegal, where if it was legal, we probably would have just been in a casino doing it, or we probably would have been somewhere betting on the sports books instead of me and my homeboy sitting betting who win this game, and then he don't pay me up, and now we over here trading blows. You see what I'm saying? We probably would have been somewhere in a controlled environment.
Let's go back when they was trying to figure out if they was going to bring in the Georgia lottery. It was a lot of opposition against that. But when they brought in the lottery, it was not as bad as everybody made it out to seem, because they were using the funds to help a lot of people that probably wouldn't have had the opportunity to further their education, whether it's going to college, university, technical school, to build on their craft, whatever it is. The funds have really been used for that. So as far as the casino coming in, if it's going to benefit in that arena, again, then hey, I'm for it. Right now, we're losing a lot of funding to neighboring states. People, they load up by the bus loads and taking people across the state line just to do these things. So again, in all things, it's pros, it's cons. It's just figuring out the scales of justice and which outweighs the other.
After Representative Bentley left, an interesting discussion about civic engagement and the nature of Black identity in America followed.
If we were the main, like even Representative Bentley, I guarantee you everybody doesn't look like her in the room she's used to being in. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't think that if we all were the main people who creating laws and things, we probably might pass something that maybe oppress the other side. You know what I'm saying? If it's 100 people in here voting on a law and 95 of them don't look like us, what initiative do they have to pass a law that helps the minority group? Like, we look up and we idolize LeBron James. You see what I'm saying? Who wants to be like Barack Obama? I've never heard a kid say that. I've heard a lot of them say they want to be like Michael Jordan and things. There's plenty of people on the other side, though, who they actually know are representative. They know their name without them having to come in. I didn't know. That's my cousin. And I didn't know I had a cousin who was a representative. You know what I'm saying? Like, the coroner is an elected official. How many people in here voted for the coroner? You know what I'm saying? Not many. You know, go vote. Go actually get our people to be the ones passing the legislation, because as long as it's 85-90% of the people making the laws don't look like us, it's never going to be the people looking like us benefiting from the laws.
What do you think when people say, like, you know, my vote doesn't count?
It don't. Only 5 people in the room look like you. It's 95 who don't look like you. Like, it doesn't. Until you instill into your kids, like, yeah, basketball is cool, but this is what's going to actually impact a lot of people's lives. You know what I'm saying? And even how, like, I don't want to, you know, step on anybody's toe, but even how we were talking about the misinformed voting. A lot of people just know I'm a Democrat because my grandma was. They don't, if you ask them what makes somebody a Democrat. Exactly, like, most people don't know, like, what a Republican is. They just know my granddad was, my dad was, so I vote Republican.
I just feel like us as Black people, we've been told this whole, I want to say hoax or just thing all our lives, like, okay, like, support each other, be there for each other, but a lot of people really don't do that. Like bro was saying, like, how many people actually go to City Hall meetings and try to get these laws changed? Of people that's like us. We're not talking about people that's in, you know, in the House or in the Senate or in a legislation period. How many people that are actually outside in the community every day trying to go to the city halls and trying to get these laws actually changed and really do something different for their community? It'd be the biggest thing. Like, when you point a finger at somebody, it'd be folk pointing right back at you. You know what I'm saying? So if you really want to make a change, people got to actually go to these meetings and really show them that I'm a person that actually is in the community, that's really seeing these changes each and every day. I'm seeing these people walking on the streets. Like she said, people stand on dirt roads that's not living environments of people that's supposed to be staying there. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like as if you really want to make a change, you got to go to these meetings. You got to show it and put it in their face that we want this change. People of the community that actually live here really want to change for real. If you don't, you feel me? Like, if you're just going to keep begging for it, it's not going to work. You got to show them, you got to put action behind your work. That's all it is. You feel me? A lot of people just saying what they want done, but they're not actually putting the work behind it. Because they're glorifying the wrong things. People not glorifying going to college more than they glorifying you being in the club shaking your behind.
I'm a product of having both parents, but it didn't really matter because the people that I looked up to, I admired, were the drug dealers, the people that were making poor decisions, but it seemed like a lot of glamour. You know, you look at the rims and you look at the big knots, and those are the things that inspired me, you know, until some of my, what I considered friends at the time, started to get incarcerated and get all those years. I'm like, I don't think that's the route I want to go. And so then that led me to to want to go to get college degrees and stuff like that. But prior to that, it wasn't on my radar. But ultimately, man, my biggest focus outside of everything else, I just want to focus on black people loving black people. Don't worry about other races. I don't care about that. We need to start loving each other, taking care of each other. And then everything else will take care of itself. You know what I mean? Because if we're focused on who hating, what about the people who love him?
I hear this narrative that we don't look out for each other, that we don't support one another. That's all I see around me, not just in Thomaston, not just, we support each other. I mean, look around you. We in here supporting each other now. People start businesses. If you're African American, more than likely there's going to be another African American shopping with you. And I like what Mike said earlier. A lot of this stuff is spiritual. It don't have anything to do with if you're black, white, orange, pink, whatever the case is. The battle we're fighting is a spiritual battle. That's what we really fighting. So I think we do support each other. I think we do love on each other.
Boy, until somebody's doing better than them or in a better position, that's where envy, greed, jealousy, all that comes into play.
And that's a human quality. That's a human trait. I can go on and on and on, but just to bring it on back home, yes, we could do a little bit better, but I think if we really look, we'll see that we do support each other. We do love on each other. It's just we dealing with human traits.
It's not a human trait. It's really like, I think a lot of black people, you still have slave traits and you don't know you have slave traits. We might have light-skinned and dark-skinned slaves. Neither of them have pillows. But I separated them and told the dark-skinned pillow, hey, you know them light-skinned Negroes, they sleeping on some good pillow. And you like, how them light-skinned Negroes get pillows and we don't? I go tell the light-skinned with the same thing. Now, both of them like, how do you folk get pillows and I don't? Neither of y'all have pillows. Or even like how you were saying, like envy, jealousy, like that's just a human trait. It's really not. Like, it just, like say you had 3 brothers, or you ain't had 3 brothers, you could be by yourself. And your mom, what's your name, man? And your, a slave owner could come out and be like, hey, that Ron be strong, ain't? Your mom gonna be like, nah, that boy ain't never strong. That boy be sick every weekend. If she be like, yeah, he's strong, he the strongest one out here, you gonna get bought, and she gonna never see you again. She was bred to downplay you just so you don't get sold into slavery and never seen again.
And at the end, everyone shared some final thoughts. But before I share those with you, let me tell you that today's episode was brought to you by People for the American Way, which works to inspire and mobilize community and cultural leaders to advance truth, justice, in the American way. Thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed those final comments.
I really think that in order to build an African community, you have to rebuild a man. You rebuild a family by rebuilding a man. And I think that's going to happen by having strong family units. I know this is 2023, not 1963. There's a lot of issues that we have, but going forward, you didn't have years and years of looking back over your shoulder. You see that what we've been doing for the past 40 or 50 years hasn't worked. It behooves you. It's up to you to make that difference. You know, practice accountability and responsibility with what the woman you lay down with and have kids with. If you don't see a future with her, practice, safe sex. We got to start keeping our family units together, and we'll get rid of a lot of this stuff that we have in our communities.
A lot of these kids out here, they growing out, just like he said, without no fathers. They just out here. And they want to belong. So that's why I believe it's a lot of crime from our people, because they want to have a place to belong. And they ending up as a Crip, Blood, or whatever you call them. All the kids that's not getting the loving home or ending up together out there doing these crimes. And one thing I like about this guy right here, Chris, I like the way you do with your kids. You know what I'm saying? I like the way you interact with your children. But when you see black men interacting with their children like I seen Mike and Chris do, it's a good thing to see. You just don't see it all the time. We need more fathers to stand up like they did, with their sons, showing their sons things, playing with their sons, talking to their sons, keeping their sons with them, letting them know that they're loved by them, not only by their mothers. And that's what I think it needs to start.
It got to start with love. That's all God was love. And we can't look at it as the white man or the black man or the Indian man or the Chinese man. it all got to equal to love. And once we love on each other, that'll take care of everything. So I was just, listening to Barbara as she was talking about the kids, as we raising our kids up. It came a time when I was like, well, we didn't have time for our own kids because we were trying to help take care and raise everybody else's kids. So I remember one day my son come in the house, want to play baseball with me. I'm like, man, I'm busy. I can't do it right now. But I'm coaching other people's kids. I ain't got time for my own kid. So he keep coming back in the house. I'm still working, doing my homework. Dad, can you come out and throw the ball with me? Son, I can't. So I'm trying to keep him busy. Go out there and toss up in the air, catch it for yourself. So he was like, no, Daddy, go back out there, dude. He come back in the house again. So I tear a piece of paper out the magazine, and I look at it, and it has the earth on one side of it. So I tore it up in pieces and made like a puzzle. I said, well, you put this back together, then I'll come outside and play with you. I know it's going to take him another hour to put that paper back together. But he couldn't. He put it back together like within 10 minutes. And when he came back in the house, he was like, Dad, I put it back together. I'm like, boy, go on, you ain't put that thing together that fast. He said, yes, you did. He said, yes, I did, Dad. And he looked at it. I said, how you do that? And then this earth tore up in all pieces. But I didn't realize it had a man and a child on that picture on the other side. He just put them back together. I said that to say this. Once we work on us and stir the world, then we can change the world. And that's my closing.